Welcome back to the Two Promises Podcast. Let's dive right into another exciting adventure with BD and crew as he pursues his new passion of one day finding the most epic bourbon. The Two Promises team send their special thanks to Hobie and the Huckleberries for their masterful theme music. So grab a glass, relax, and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth whiskey. No more wine. I like straight bourbon. Baby, you try the ride.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning back in to the Two Promises Podcast. I am on the road in Black Betty, and I'm recording with BD Mobile. And this is exactly kind of how I envisioned my podcast career going, is after I came back from my 7th deployment, where I kind of said I'd had some great career growth, but also was very personally and professionally toxic, and went right into 2020 with COVID. And I was like, well, what am I going to do for me? What's worked in the past? What hasn't worked? And how can I maintain consistency with some of the career things that I have to do with travel, with being in and out of internet connectivity, etc., just to kind of make a living, etc. And then my own knowing myself and my own weaknesses and where I've fallen short in the past. So I wanted to reconnect with America, get to know my friends again, people that I hadn't talked to, that I'd lost contact with, whether they were business friends, personal friends, both, a combination of both, which usually it is, because I've been very interested in entrepreneurship throughout my life. So here we are, we're doing it, and I'm really hoping that this audio quality works out and we don't have as many little gremlins as we've had in the past. So right now I'm super stoked to introduce a good friend of mine, I guess for 3.5 years. We met around the same time whenever I was getting into some just business circles, networking, trying to figure out how I can make some money part-time, get that side hustle going on, because I was getting out of the Navy myself, transitioning into the reserves and trying to figure out where I wanted to grow. So I met Mr. Brandon Seay. He was also in the Navy. We just worked in very similar communities, just a little bit offset, but Navy search and rescue. So it was really great and refreshing to see someone in the same kind of career field, but also with the same driven mindset for entrepreneurship and just value-adding personal brand and just personal growth. So he's, for 3.5 years, been just hustling, growing, and I've just been loving watching him as he grows and as he just crushes and maintains an awesome positive attitude. We're going to get into more of that later. But over the last 3 years, he has added so much value to the company that he's working with part-time, even around his whole Navy schedule and his relationships with family and significant others and everything. And he's added so much value that the company is actually paying his monthly car payment of whichever car he chose within a certain limits. I don't have those exact details on hands, and he might go into that, I'm not sure, but that's pretty incredible. Is he's added so much value for a company part-time that they are, whatever else he's earning income-wise, they're also kind of giving him a company vehicle. So that's pretty awesome. And right now, we just kind of caught up, and he says he's super happy with the growth, the plateaus, the ups and downs, and right now he's just all in on his personal brand. So I just want to kick it back over to you, Brandon, and go ahead and tell us a little bit about that personal brand and introduce yourself a little bit more, sir.
Yeah, awesome. Brent, thank you so much for the incredible intro, brother. Just want to give it back to you, to everyone who's listening. If you're new, you're dialing in new for the first time, I mean, my man Brent Lloyd has been doing some pretty impressive stuff over the years. I mean, his track record's insane. I mean, if you guys are watching this, you're already a fan, you know what he's about. But if you are brand new, do your research on my man here. I mean, he's incredible. And it was truly a blessing that we got to meet 3.5 years ago and build such a solid relationship. So a little bit about me, man. I appreciate the little intro again. But yeah, man, a little bit about me. We connected 3.5 years ago. I was still active duty. I'm actually planning to get out 2022. But I got into entrepreneurship about 3.5 years ago, and I had a mentor. Very successful. He was getting out of the Navy as well, but he was already an entrepreneur. And he reached out to me, and he was like, re-enlist because you want to, not because you have to financially. And, like, those words really hit me. So fast forward, that opened my eyes. I started researching, looking around other ways to build and make some additional income, started researching different platforms, different ways, push out products or services or build my own brand, whatever it may be. And long story short, we connected. Me and Mr. Brent Lloyd connected and became on the same path and got into the whole online marketing space, the whole dropshipping e-commerce space, just because it made the most sense working part-time in the military. So aside from that,
I am with, they are generous, they're so loving, and I recommend anybody, if you're looking for a side hustle, don't just do it blindly. Go out, do your research, find friends that might be doing something similar, and get their word for it. Get some advice, start reading, start doing research, and dial in and dive into it. But yeah, that's been great. 5 figures part-time. That's been phenomenal. Helping a lot of people reach success and even make more money than me part-time. That's been huge. And then from all this growth, just really growing myself, growing my personal brand. My mantra for my personal brand is together to the top. I really am passionate about accountability and team building. And there's this kind of idea that because someone reached out to me and offered hey, there's a better way. That's kind of the mentality, the advisor, the mentorship mentality, or just having one of my mentors, he calls himself Uncle G, kind of like that uncle mentality, he has your best interests and he wants to let you know that, hey, you can thrive, you can excel, and there's other ways out there than what you were raised and taught to believe. And so having this together to the top mentality, there's no reason why we can't all win together, there's no reason why we can't all eat at the dinner table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a huge reason why you and I resonate together so well, is because part of my growth experience is I was looking into kind of taking some of the skills that I've learned over just wanting to be a special operator and then actually doing it for 14 years and doing 7 deployments all over the world in a lot of different environments, geopolitical, socio-political, and then just with my different skill sets, particularly medicine, even though that there were other ones. And I was working into helping people just make their mindset indomitable, right? The unbreakable, whatever you want to say. And that's kind of what my passion was, because then that kind of superseded a company or a brand or whatever, because then I could help empower people to really go after the things that are most important to them, be it in entrepreneurship or whatever. So that's kind of where I kind of started getting into figuring out my personal brand, and throughout the years and everything I've rebranded, and now I'm still very passionate about the mantras to get to the top, because that whole, me mapping out or discussing the psychological space, I believe still helps solidify those mindsets. So I think I'm still within that same passion that I have, but I'm just starting at a different level, which is another reason, like I said, that Brandon and I have just connected so well. And you mentioned Uncle G, and we also have a mutual friend, Magda, and if you don't mind just sharing your relationship with that whole connection. But I know if you've been following me, I've been pushing how I've been really enjoying her fragrance line and how I've enjoyed her story, how she's transitioned and how she's grown and how she's grown through trauma and grown through those periods of suffering, and just the trajectory of her growth and her mindset and how hyper focused she is in crushing her goals is just super awesome, which also ties back into, that whole surrounding yourself with people that are, that are going to be uplifting. And that's going to get us back to a little bit about why I want to talk to Brandon. But if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about Uncle G, Magda, or however you want to share in that space. But I think that that's an important connection to just kind of discuss and add a little bit more substance to.
Yeah, absolutely, Brett, absolutely. Yeah, so about 3.5 years ago is when I got introduced to entrepreneurship as a whole, maybe 6 months into that.
From a really good friend, great mentor. To this day, I look up to him a lot. Mr. Brandon Thornhill, former Navy SEAL as well. But he introduced me to Grant Cardone through a book, and then eventually introduced me to Cardone University, which kind of lit the fire, and that led to me down the road taking a deeper dive on my own, in deciding that I wanted to go all in on what this man had to teach. So if you guys don't know Grant Cardone, I mean, look him up, Google him. He's a phenomenal entrepreneur. Is a fund manager, real estate hedge fund manager of like 1.2 billion or something like that. Sales master. He runs a sales online course. He's written multiple books. Crazy. Anyways, very successful. And I just like how he teaches and what he does works. So that's been a big one. Let's see, 2.5 years ago, I got into his inner circle or his mentor group. And another friend of ours, like you said, Miss Magda Khalifa. Magda, we also connected all together, me, Mr. Lloyd, and Magda. We actually connected from the same online platform. But fast forward, Magda branched out and wanted to do and create a phenomenal fragrance line that I still have not. I've heard the best things about it, and I feel bad that I still haven't purchased a fragrance yet.
Dude, they're for real awesome, dude, and they're going to last a long time, and they're priced just for, like, our kind of area, but they are premium, so she probably has some kind of Black Friday special, if not probably a Veterans Military special. I highly encourage you, if you got a little bit of budget, or if you want to treat yourself for Christmas or a loved one, dude, if you've been thinking about it, I encourage you to just do it, because it's totally worth it, and if you use 2 promises, I think you get a discount, so you might as well.
100%. Okay. Yeah, no, I've been meaning to get it. I just don't come back around, but every time I see her putting it out there, I'm like, dude, I need to get this. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to put that out there and get it. But fast forward, yeah, so Magda got in the same mentorship as I did with Uncle G, Grant Cardone. And in that mentor group, just dive deeper into the principles of success, the skills, the high-income skills, and a lot of the back-end personal stuff that you need to work on that's more internal. And some of it obviously is external as well. Going into one of the big highlights was goal setting. I mean, people talk about goal setting all the time, but Grant, he likes to talk about writing your goals down and doing it and writing your goals down twice a day.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, do you mind if I just kind of interject here real quick?
Yeah, please.
So just the other day, I was kind of cleaning and processing. So as you know, I've been kind of working on being really honest with myself as I kind of work through my anxiety and some of my stress disorders. And packing for trips and cleaning are very difficult for me. Just processing through just different emotions and different things as I sort, and it's already a thing that I don't thrive in and I don't enjoy doing. So it's just kind of a little bit of a perfect storm. But with that being said, I was kind of doing that, so I was listening to an audiobook on Genius Foods. It's called Genius Foods, and we're going to tag it, mention it, all that kind of stuff so that you can, do a little bit more research on your own or, follow it yourself. But in it, he was talking about this goal setting and the $1 million word for it, if you will, so that you can sound real fancy in front of your friends if you want to, is, well, at least in some circles or industries, it's called self-authoring. And it's where you're writing down your goals, your intentions, your whatever, and you're doing it diligently, consistently. And again, that's a big reason why I have so much respect for Brandon, is because just no joke, every day it's fitness, growth, writing down his goals, recording it, positivity, sharing other people's successes, sharing how he's impacted people, and he's impacted me, which is another reason why I just thought self-authoring, he's been so awesome at living that I really wanted to reach out to him and see if he'd be a guest. So I'm super stoked that he said yes. So yes, go tell us a little bit more about your growth experience with self-authoring, or as you called it, what did you say, writing down your goals 2 times a day? Did you have a different word for it?
Yeah, so just writing the goals down. Grant says this, he's like, who do you think is going to win? The guy who writes his goal down once in the beginning of the year, or the guy who writes his goals down twice a day, every day for the whole year? And the whole idea is your mind thinks in images, right? The mindset works in images. So by constantly writing it down, and then on top of that, setting up images around your workspace, maybe on your phone, things like that, and then writing it also in future tense. I am so happy and grateful now that I am a top podcaster of 2020, right? That's a goal, right? By the end of December 2020, or by 2022 December, right? Putting yourself in that future tense and
this
putting
is gold,
it and writing it in
keep
a
going,
way,
keep going. I love it.
Yeah, and writing it in a way where it makes you feel good. You're getting emotionally attached, because a lot of times people have issues, and I'm not some crazy guru on this. I'm not a guru at all.
And I'm excited for the future. You know, I'm not just spitting BS. I've been taught
people that are using the same method. So I'm kind of tagging in their story as well and to see what it's done for them.
Could you repeat that for our listeners? I think I had a little bit of interference. I really apologize. You were in such a gold heater. I just want to make sure we don't miss that core nugget.
So what I was saying was it's been good for me. It's been huge for me, but not to say that I'm some guru or anything. You know, I've only had so much success in my time on being on this planet, and I'm on track to reach a lot more. But I want to use the stories and the successes of the people that I follow and the people that mentor me and leverage their successes, because the things that they teach me, like Grant Cardone and other successful guys like Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor, things like that.
So can I just interject a mentor real quick, if you don't mind?
Yeah, man.
Okay, cool. So back whenever we were just hot and heavy, just learning as much as we could, just throwing ourselves as deep as we could into just marketing, learning, e-commerce as much as we can, nutrition, self-growth, personal development, everything, a book that I came across was The Compound Effect. And your consistency just speaks volumes to where you are going to be and how I just know it, and you're already there, whether you know it or not, and I know you already know it, so I don't even need, I'm just saying it just so that you can hear it, to add more senses to that truth that you already own. Because the more you can kind of associate those senses, just like he's saying, those emotions, then the more powerful it becomes and the more you own it and you dominate it. So I just wanted to just throw that out there and just commend you. But keep going, man. I just didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to throw that out.
No, thank you so much. That means a lot, bro. Honestly, that means so much coming from you and with your success and what you've done for me. I mean, guys, Mr. Brent Lloyd here was one of my early mentors, and he's helped me out a lot. So I'm just, like they say in the Navy, we are just a direct reflection of our leadership, or direct reflection of our mentors. So shout out to Mr. Brent Lloyd and all the other great leaders I've had and have came into my life. But yeah, man, the goals have been great, and getting emotionally attached, it's a learning curve. You know, building new habits is a learning curve. So for anybody who wants to, you know, build new habits, it's going to take some time. But here's the good news. You're not a tree, right? You can move, you can change. And that's kind of one of the things my mentor told me. I mean, my mentors in my current business, Grant Cardone, you know, if you want things to change, you got to change. And a part of me changing was changing everything of how, you know, I mean, in a nutshell, basically reinventing yourself, changing everything about yourself except for your name. You had to redesign yourself completely to reach the goals, right?
And dude, I thank you for saying that, and I just want to just kind of highlight that real quick, if you don't mind, because that's what I have been feeling so strongly this year, is me having to redesign myself. I felt like I had to just kind of reset both my hardware and my software just to be able to operate appropriately for me to be able to crush my goals and really have the impact that I truly desire to have. And by that I mean a force for good in just really promoting mental health awareness and getting people tools and access to resources, whether it's by getting it from our top shelf episodes at the Two Promises Saloon at our website, or reaching out to the resources that we post in the website, or being involved in the community. So I just wanted to throw that right back out there and just speak a little bit of just goodness right back into that. And unless you had something else, I was going to attempt to pivot, but did you want to drive that further?
No, man, we're good, man. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, so as you know, I kind of discuss beverages. As you know, I'm on the road and no drinking and driving, so I'm just enjoying a Coca-Cola. It's late, give myself a little sugar rush, good old sugary beverage, which I have been, if you've been following the intermittent fasting thing that I've been doing, I've greatly been reducing my sugars, but I really wanted to kind of just have a little pick-me-up for recording on the road. So that is what I'm drinking, and this season 1 theme, which was recently released, is Make Bourbon Medicine Again. So with that, I just wanted to ask you, Brandon, what have you been doing lately or want to get back to, or something that you want to explore, or anything that you might consider like soul medicine, like that's just like breathing life into you right now so that you can keep that fire stoked, so that you can, one, go to the top yourself, and, which is even more difficult, is assist and help those around you to also go to the top together. So would you mind sharing what soul medicine you've been kind of exploring?
Yeah, absolutely, man. 3 come to mind. I think 1 is the time and tested, proven method for everybody. But, you know, especially at a time right now where everyone's kind of getting locked down, I mean, at some point you need to go outside and take a walk. And that's always great for me to clear my head. Typically I'll go for a walk or even...
Cool.
Even
Can I just throw in a health note?
Yeah, please.
Cool. So, I mean, a lot of things. You're moving, which is going to help your circulatory system and also your lymphatic system, which is going to be flushing, which is also going to help your immune system. All great things. The fresh air, you know, not in a stuffy environment, not in some of those same circulating just dusts and, you know, pollens or whatever. And then, of course, vitamin D from the sun, which is going to help your brain function, your mood, and everything. All also great reasons to just take a walk. I just wanted to throw in the little health and physiology piece there. Continue.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, taking a walk. I know the Stoics, studying Stoicism in my journey a little bit. The Stoics are really big on taking a walk and just taking time to think. I like to put on an audiobook or maybe a podcast and go for a walk when the blood's pumping. That helps me really think. And that's been great. Another is I like to just get into a good book. I lately have been really big into reading through personal development and growing.
What are you reading right now?
I'm reading a few, man. I'm reading Dorm Room to Millionaire by Alex Morton. I'm reading Think and Grow Rich, and I'm reading Money, Greed, and God, which is why capitalism is the solution and not the problem. Kind of a Christian perspective on capitalism. It's pretty interesting.
Okay, excellent. I'm reading a book called Sovereignty, which is kind of a look into the socio-political movements from how the church affected the New World and the New World politics inadvertently, even though there was a separation of church and state that was kind of whatever built in. So I think it's a really interesting perspective on how Christianity and religion really does shape a lot of things. And then the other one is actually God Making, which is about kind of our genetics and DNA, which is fascinating. But sorry, I didn't mean to interject too much. Back to you, Brandon.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, so reading's been great. I mean, I used to hate reading growing up. So I had a mentor say, hey, you know what? This book is going to change your life. But if you don't like reading, then jump into an audio. So I got into audiobooks first, and then I started getting results from just listening. And I got so much results from just listening, it caught my attention so much that I was like, there's more to this. So listening to the audiobook, getting results actually made me want to buy the actual book and take a deeper dive and study. And that's how I got into reading actual books and not getting bored. Jim Quick says this. He says, the reason you can't retain information is because your emotions are down. So when your emotions are up, it's a lot easier for your brain to retain information. So yeah.
That's awesome that you mentioned Jim Quick. I got to see him speak live at a kind of like a men's networking event, and just he's absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, thanks for sharing some of his hacks.
Yeah, I love Jim Quick. He had a special, like the beginning of COVID, he has online courses, and he did a crazy online special with his online courses, and I've been kind of following him off and on, and once he did that special, I just basically bought out all his courses because they're so crazy cheap and
awesome.
Such good stuff. So,
cool.
Yeah, I love his stuff. Third one, this one kind of sounds, I don't know, not politically correct or not normal, but I think this is more of GC, Uncle G, Grant Cardone rubbing off on me. But really just, having goals, having targets, and just getting after it and just absolutely just dominating it. And by getting results, I mean, man, I am happy. Like, knowing that I set targets the night before and not reaching them that day, like, I'm not that happy. So when I get that high of knocking out the target, making it happen, knowing that I got it done, and I'll talk about a sub-note to that, but knocking it out, that just makes me feel overall better. And I love Grant. He talks about, like the fastest way to meet the devil is to have white space on your calendar, meaning if your calendar's not booked with activity targets to get you closer to your goals, whether that be like income producing activities for building your business, building your brand, or things where you need to spend time with your family, whatever. Like if your calendar is just willy-nilly, you're not going to feel productive and you're not going to feel good. And really just taking so much massive action, you feel good. And when you're not reaching your target, the fastest way to feel good and to get back on course is to go and help someone else help win and get their targets reached, which is the little subnet I was talking about.
That's awesome. I'm glad you shared that. Do you mind if I just resonate on a few of your points there?
Yeah, please.
So, your third little point was just having those goals, having those targets, and just going all in on them, and then how that creates these positive feedback loops, how your action, your intensity, and just getting out there and doing it, that striving helps, one, have a positive outlet. So instead of maybe stewing or dwelling or doing something that might be negative, you're putting your energies into something positive, which makes you feel better, and then also you see a result, which then also makes you feel better. So you're just kind of exponentially increasing through these positive feedback loops that you're creating for yourself, and then your action just becomes more and more massive. So if this seems overwhelming to you, please don't be, because it can start super small. Last year I was in the worst shape of my life. I was maybe the most depressed I've ever been. Not really sure. Yeah, probably the most depressed I've ever been. It was a really bad year. But I'd also had periods of growth, and I had a lot of great things going, so I don't want you to think that it was all awful. But this year, when I was starting to kind of like get back honest with myself, my own physical fitness was a big thing that I really wanted to make sure that I addressed. But since I had so much low energy from depression, from having chronic endocrine fatigue issues, and all these adrenal fatigue issues, and just different things, I had parasites, I had a lot of just different things that my body had been fighting against for years, and I don't even know if we completely eradicated the parasites. But long story short, I was just super low energy, so I said, well, how am I going to get back in shape, and what is something that I can make a lifestyle that can be just as mobile as me? And I just kind of put together a lot of just different lifestyle trends or diets or just different things that made sense to me physiologically, and from from a physiological, biological, nutritional perspective. And I started small with my actual workouts, but my bell curve was massive. Maybe it was because I had muscle memory from before, but I think it was just the perfect storm of commitment, making the right changes in diet and energy levels. But I just said my first goal was, I just want each day to do something more active than I would have normally done that day. And that was my goal for success. That was my metric. That's how depressed I was. And it was, even if it was just take a walk or do a few air squats, then I would have felt that it was good. And then I graduated to, all right, I want to do 100 push-ups a day. Then I graduated to more and more and more fitness. But that snowball effect, that compound effect just really hit. And then I just hit I feel like a lot of personal momentum and my personal growth but that getting back to my health, my personal health, was one of the most important dominoes, or the most important domino in that spiral, that upward spiral. Okay, so that's what we had there. And then you went to helping others. So, boom. I would love it if, I don't know how much time you got, but you may end it on the helping other notes, and then I'll wrap it up. Or if you've got more time, we can dive deeper in. I might share a story, but we can go from there. So, would you mind fleshing out that help others point?
Yeah, man. So if you set targets the night before, which going back to that, you should plan your day. You should finish your day on paper before you start living it the day after, right? Finish your day on paper before you actually start that next day. And a part of finishing that day is not only having your day mapped out, time blocks, things like that, but having your top, 2-3 targets that you want to hit. And if you hit those 2-3 targets, fantastic. It's a great day. Now, life happens for everybody. Life happens for everybody. Things come in the way. Sometimes disciplines aren't working that well, and you're not hitting those targets. Well, the best way to get me to feel good is to, take some time to see how I can help other people out. So that could be, people in my business, people on my team. It could be providing value in a way, putting out content. It could be, having a call with somebody, a good friend, reconnecting.
Okay, real quick, for someone, there you go, someone reconnect, because that's what I was just saying, for someone who's maybe not entrepreneurial driven, or just maybe just looking for maybe some mental health things, what would be a tool or a technique that you could recommend for them to utilize to kind of one up just their feel good, because they're in isolation too. They're kind of trying to figure out a lot of these things that they might not have had Navy training or emotional resilience training to help them with. So go ahead, just send it.
Yeah, connection's huge. Connection is 100% huge. And I think the big issue with today, we're so connected via social, but we're not. We lost the art of conversation, and we replaced it with clicks and taps and comments, which is not real genuine connection. So building the skills back up to actually talk and get on the phone. And it's kind of weird. Some people don't even like to get on a phone call anymore, or even a FaceTime, which is the next best thing to meeting in person.
For sure. Maybe a graduatory step would be just like using voice message more often, so you at least hear the audio.
Yes, 100%.
Inflection.
I love to do this. I love Facebook because Facebook tells you when it's people's birthdays. So I love reaching out to people and sending a happy birthday either via voice message, or I'll send a little 20, 30-second FaceTime clip through Facebook Messenger and wish them a happy birthday. And that makes me feel good because I get crazy feedback from people and be like, wow, you're the only person who's ever done that, or something like that. And that's because we live in a generation where, people don't care as much to connect, and it's so important to stay connected. And even for someone like me, I mean, I'm telling you, like, I'm like naturally an introvert. I'm one to tell people no a lot because I need to fill up my cup and work on myself, self-care. But to have my routines to fill myself up so I can go out and be a person of value, so I can bring something to the table and be that light for other people, even if it's just one person, man. Like, if it's just one person and I get a positive feedback, or they say, hey, that one thing you said, posted, shared, the phone call we had the other day, like, that helped me out. Like,
and that's just more fuel for your fire. That's just another positive feedback loop just implement that just is available just because you did that one thing. You took 15 seconds out of your day to do something, and now you got another burst of energy.
Yeah, just like you said earlier when you said, hey, watching you write your goals down and posting about it, you were the second person to tell me that this week. I had another guy tell me that yesterday. And 100% added fuel to the fire. And I'm like, wow, people might not be liking or commenting, right? Because that's like, we look at engagement and look at that as a metric or a form of measurement. But people are watching. And that's one of the things I like about social media is putting out valuable content. Rather than like or comment or not, people are watching and getting the personal phone calls and saying, hey, man, that really affected me. That really impacted me. That fires me up to stay on track, to continue growing. Because really, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you're working on yourself to help other people. My personal philosophy is, work on yourself because a better you is better for everybody else. And in a nutshell, it's more so, work on yourself because a better you is better for him, which is better for everybody else. Well, a little spiritual side to that.
Investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Investing in yourself, and then spiritual side, maybe just sowing faith, like putting like the faith into like the positive. Sorry, go into what you were saying, spiritual. I didn't mean to interject, but I just kind of was trying to take notes and listen at the same time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I actually have it tattooed on my back, my personal philosophy, which is my utmost for his highest, which in a nutshell is, work on yourself and become your best and to make your best better because a better you is better for him, G-O-D, and it's better for him, which makes you better for everybody else because you can be used and help other people as a servant leader, as whoever you need to be.
As an instrument to kind of do good or help others or take an action to improve something in your environment or in someone else's life.
Yes, to be an asset in your community and to your family instead of a liability.
Awesome. Asset instead of a liability. And real quick, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping in feedback loops because it's important to me. I know you said you had approximately 30 minutes and we're getting close to that. We've actually kind of exceeded it. So I want to respect your time, but I do want to kind of just close out with at least one little quick little easy technique for just about anyone to employ that would help what you were just talking about of like resetting some energy, but just a slight twist on it. And then we'll kind of get back to the whatever's going on next. But to reset some of that bad energy by helping somebody else. You're feeling bad, you're getting down, you were talking about it. And so you're just like, oh, I got a double cheeseburger meal and, whatever, 2 double cheeseburgers, I gave one to somebody else just as a gesture of goodwill. They didn't even ask for it, but you could see that they needed it, or maybe it was just a homeless person driving home, whatever. Something to help others, or invest in a team, or invest in whatever. So the other thing is, that's helped me this year, is anytime I've, say, maybe been a negative, or I've come back and I've reflected, like, oh man, I did not treat that person like the way I would have wanted to be treated in that situation, or I wasn't as empathetic, or I didn't see their side as well as I should have. So now my thing is, once I notice those things through self-reflection or even in the moment, I want to try to reset that negative as quickly as possible by trying to throw a positive out. Of course, I try not to get like too overly crazy with the positive because, personal resource management and energy management. finding that line or even getting back into dialogue with them to just make sure that like there is peace and there is no ill will that might have become of my moodiness or emotionalness or being hangry or being in a high anxiety moment. So recorrecting or putting a little bit of faith or a little bit of love back into maybe a place where you might have inflicted potentially some injury. So I just wanted to wrap that back up, and then I wanted to put the ball back into your court on whether you want to dive back in or continue our conversation, or if you do need to wrap it up and hit the road.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you got any more questions, love to answer. But other than that, I mean, I think I'm good. Unless you got more questions, I'd love to answer.
Real quick, your personal brand, you were talking about Together to the Top. Where can they reach you? What's the best? Could you just send me over your social so that I can post it with our show notes?
Yeah, I'll send you over the tag, the little handle. But it's Brandon J. Seay. My last name's kind of weird, but it's spelled S-E-A-Y. It's French. I know it's kind of weird, but pronounced Seay, S-E-A-Y. But Brandon J. Seay, that's my Instagram, that's my Facebook, that's my TikTok, that's my LinkedIn.
Awesome.
That's the YouTube, that's all of it.
If you want to see consistency and just freaking positive energy and tons of growth, follow him on his socials, check him out. Super excited to have you on the show, and send us over any of the resources you want us to push out. And then I just want to conclude with, I'd love to have you back on as a guest, so let's stay in touch about that if that works for you.
Would love it, man. That'd be awesome. Thank you again for having me on tonight.
All right. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Give a warm welcome for Brandon. Give him some love in the comments whenever we post this episode, and follow him on the socials. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Bye, guys. Love you guys.
Thank you for joining us today on this curious roller coaster of life. If this is your stop, please exit peacefully. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you're ready for another one, just push play. Just a final note before you go, thank you, and thank you for feeling. The distillation and aging process is different for everyone. I'm not quite sure what you're ready for. Sip slowly and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that slow, slow